Hello and welcome back to the 275 people in my common sense group. Hopefully, there'll be more when they get a little bit more common sense. Want to discuss three topics today, two in depth, and just mention the other ones. Ireland, as everybody knows, is facing three serious threats to its survival culturally, and they would be, of course, migration, suicide, and what we will refer to as sudden deaths. Okay. Now, I mentioned suicide the other day, and I will get back to it. So we'll leave that aside for the moment. I want to discuss the other two, and the first one I will discuss is the sudden deaths. We had a few days back a very unusual event. Two young people, 24 years of age, dying while participating in a marathon, etc. Now, if it was only those two which passed away unbelievably on the same day or on the same weekend, that would be one thing. But we all know this is a much bigger issue than just two people. A day cannot go by now without we reading about some soccer player, some Gaelic footballer in County Galway under 20. It never ends. Australian twins playing Australian rules football. Who knows how many GAA players have passed away, male and female. It's just a crisis. But the people will just not accept that it's anything other than just something that always happened. And people are rushing onto Facebook to try to do two things. They are trying to deny that there's anything amiss, and they're trying to shut up everybody else talking about it. That is an example of people being demoralized and living in fear. As regards the people that are in fear, it's as simple as this. A huge amount of people have taken what turned out to be an untested experimental new technology, gene therapy injection, with no earthly idea what was actually in the substance, and even worse, what the effects of it would be, because nobody knows what the effects of anything is, because in a normal drug test it takes about 10 years of testing to bring a drug to market approved by the FDA, etc. That is why drugs are so very, very expensive, because it's such a difficult process to bring a product to market which is more or less safe. These things were rushed through. Also, of course, it's a brand new technology incorporating nanotechnology. There probably isn't one person in 1,000 that understands anything about nanotechnology at all, but still they do it. So when those people are passing away, you will see on Facebook people, one, saying, oh, this was always the case. People always died. The most ridiculous thing I've seen on Facebook of all was a situation when somebody says, well, oh, the first guy that ran the marathon back in ancient Greek, he died. Well, of course he died, because he wasn't a runner. To be no different from myself trying to run a marathon, and I'm in half decent shape. I would die in the first mile, not a mile, 26 miles later. So, an athlete dying like that, it does happen. Well, people also get struck by lightning. It's about the same frequency. So, people will deny that there's anything out of the ordinary. Then, of course, they will try to shut people up from questioning it all. And the favourite expression you see on Facebook is, please show respect for the family. Well, God bless the family. They have to suffer. But we are more concerned about society in general. When a person passes away suddenly, it is imperative that a full autopsy be done on that person to eliminate the possibility of foul play, poisoning, or some other disease or whatever, to ensure that justice would prevail, and even more importantly, to ensure that the rest of society will learn from that mistake and take actions to prevent it in any way they can. So, for these people that are passing away, a full autopsy down to the most minute detail should be done. There is a fellow over there in England, he's the coroner. Not sorry, he's not a coroner. He's a undertaker, John Looney. He's on videos showing strands of material taken out from people's veins. That's just diabolical altogether. Could not be any rational explanation for them, but I guess that is what killed the people, and he's trying to get focus on that, but needless to say, everybody is turning a blind eye. So, there is a massive effort to deny the reality of the possibility that people might be, in effect, living, ticking time bombs. Anybody that subconsciously realizes that they could be in that category are living in dreadful fear. And that explains some of the posts on Facebook, and it is fear and the hope that it's not real that's keeping those people going. Now, very similar situation is happening with migration. People are living in the hope that this is all going to turn out very nice and dandy. Well, it most certainly will not turn out nice and dandy. We've seen people up in Northern Ireland that were basically very, very almost identical in the bigger scheme of things to the people that was there when they came in and planted Northern Ireland in 1609 or whenever it was, the first plantation. The only difference were they were all Christians, but one was Catholic and the other was Protestant. Other than that, they were identical. But nonetheless, 400 years later, that little difference was still enough to see them killing one another without cause, other than the fact that they had a slight difference between them. Anybody that thinks that different cultures and different religions can coexist in Ireland is absolutely bonkers. That will not be the situation whatsoever. So they too will deny that reality and they will try to shut people up. And when they have a runner from Africa, well, they will jump on the bandwagon and try to convince everybody that she is just as Irish as Peg Sayers or anybody for that matter. And they will wrap the flag around them, and it's completely bonkers, of course. It's no different than if that African went to Greenland. They're not going to be an Eskimo. And the African person will never be an Irish person, and an Irish person will never be a Chinese person, and a Chinese person will never be a Japanese person, and a Japanese person will never be a Nigerian. And that is just common sense. Now, we have, for people to accept this, there's an element of demoralization that has been put onto the Irish psyche for the last 40 years. They actually have been brainwashed into thinking they are inferior. You will see the most recent effort of that now is when Michael Martin the other day, he says, the Irish were only mongrels. That is to accept that they are lesser than a full race in of themselves. Well, I just got a book from the library there yesterday or the day before, whatever. You should get, it's just after coming out. It's 2025. It's a nice big book. You may not like reading nice big books, but you should read that book. You should read any book for that matter, because these guys don't read any books at all. They're just totally clueless. They just read the script that they are given. It's as simple as that. So he refers to the Irish as Mongols. Mongrels. No, not Mongols. Mongols were a different group of people. He refers to them as mongrels. I suggest from now on that anybody coming into Ireland, settling to be Irish, African, or whatever, well, they obviously are mongrels as well. So from now on, people should perhaps call all these non-Irish people mongrels. If they want to be Irish, they can be Irish mongrels, and that sounds pretty good to me. So that is about the size of it. The Irish race are a distinct unit. They came here and replaced 5 other groups of people. They were called the Milesians, and they came here at about 500 BC. They dominated till about 500 AD, and then Christianity comes in and it changed. But that 1,000 years is what fortified the Irish Gael into being the Irish Gael. Later, the Vikings came in. They were assimilated in. They were assimilated because they gave up their gods, Thor and all those Odin. Forget about those guys. You are now a Catholic or a Christian. It was only Christians of those days. They spoke Irish. Nobody in Ireland is walking around speaking Norse in the year 1000 AD. They were later joined by the Normans. The Normans spoke French or Gaelic or Frankish or whatever language they spoke. It took them about 300 years to learn and adopt the Irish customs. And they then dressed, wore their hair, followed the Irish customs, spoke Gaeilge, and they were more Irish than the Irish themselves, as the old saying goes. And they, over the course of 300 years, assimilated well as well. So we'll say Fitzgerald and Fitznorman, Fitzsimons, they're all Irish today. But it took some hundreds of years to do so. It didn't have to happen overnight. And as I mentioned earlier, the people that came into Ulster 400 years later, they still did not accept that they are Irish at all. Now, the people coming in today, well, they most certainly don't want to be Irish at all. They just want the Irish money. Go to a soccer match when Cameroon is playing Scotland or whatever, and you will see who they're cheering for. And that is just a little bit of a video that I wanted to make today, just to point out that Ireland is ruled by fear and complete and utter denial. They will not accept reality. And thank you very much for watching.